radio, and it's what I'd like to do here on the show as well. This is a piece about the central bank in India, the most powerful player, if you will, from a money standpoint, and the Prime Minister, the political head of India, are in a kind of collision point, and suddenly the central bank governor of the Reserve Bank of India, the RBI, has resigned from his post, citing personal reasons. And it feels very political to everybody in the nation. And so we're going to read a couple of things about this. From the Times of India, we have the comments of the previous governor of the RBI board. And he's quite cautionary. But before we do that, I'm going to go to the BBC for an outsider's view that's quite informed. And this is by, they don't have a byline here, so it's from the BBC, who has a photo of Mr. Patel and Urjit Patel, the governor of the Reserve Bank of India, and the caption to the photo is, "It had been rumored that Mr. Patel would quit amid a spat with the government." Spat up high in this piece. Actually, this is a Reuters piece, or maybe the photo is. India's central bank governor, Urjit Patel, has resigned from his post, citing personal reasons. His resignation comes amid reports of a rift between the Reserve Bank of India, hereafter RBI, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. This marks a rare case of a serving governor leaving his job midway through his 3-year term. Correspondents say the move is likely to undermine confidence in the economy and cause the rupee to fall. Although India's $2.6 trillion economy, that's US dollar economy, has recently been boosted by a strong performance in consumer spending and manufacturing, the rupee has already fallen significantly against the surging dollar so far this year. Private investment remains slack, and there are doubts on whether the economy will accelerate further, says the BBC's Sautik Biswas in Delhi. India will vote in a general election in the first half of next year, with polls due by May. In a statement announcing his resignation, Mr. Patel thanked his staff and officers, calling them the reason for the, quote, bank's considerable accomplishments in recent years, close quote. But speculation has been mounting for weeks that Mr. Patel could resign over government pressure on the bank. The RBI versus Modi. In late October, RBI Deputy Governor Viral Acharya fired what appeared to be a broadside against attempts to undermine the bank's independence. Quote, "Governments that do not respect central bank independence will sooner or later incur the wrath of the financial markets, ignite economic fire, and come to rue the day they undermined an important regulatory institution," he said. The government reportedly wants the RBI to allow ailing state-owned banks, groaning under bad loans to industries, to resume lending to small businesses. It also wants the regulator to lower interest rates to inject much-needed liquidity into the economy. Reports say the government also wants to access the RBI's surplus reserves in a bid to stimulate the economy with a big public spending spree to woo voters before the elections. An RBI board meeting is due to be held on Friday. Quote, "The timing just before this week's board meeting suggests that there's still a huge gap between the government and RBI positions on key issues." A. Prasanna, the head of research at ICICI Securities primary dealership in Mumbai, told Reuters. Quote, "Markets will now hope that the government has a plan of action ready so as to restore calm." So this is, again, we're talking about the resignation of the governor of the Reserve Bank of India. Prime Minister Modi and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley have issued statements voicing appreciation for Mr. Patel's work. Mr. Modi tweeted that Mr. Patel left behind a great legacy, while Mr. Jaitley described a deep sense of appreciation for him. However, others have responded with concern. A former governor of the RBI, Raghuram Rajan, said that Mr. Patel's resignation should be seen as a statement of protest. Former Finance Minister Yashwant Sinha said, quote, The resignation is a clear sign of the government trying to interfere with the working of the RBI, close quote. This is an analysis by Samir Hashmi, the India business reporter for BBC. Section titled, Curious Timing. For nearly 2 months, there had been strong speculation that Mr. Patel was to step down as the 24th governor of the Reserve Bank of India. Last week, I attended a press conference where Mr. Patel was asked about the tension between the government and the RBI. He refused to comment, indicating that all was not well, despite reports in recent weeks that an uneasy truce had been reached. Mr. Patel's resignation has resurrected concerns raised by various observers that the Indian government is trying to undermine the central bank's autonomy, a charge that the former has denied. Interestingly, the resignation comes just 4 days before an RBI board meeting at which some contentious issues were supposed to be discussed. The board has many government-appointed members who have been putting pressure on RBI management to agree to some of the administration's demands. Mr. Patel's move will also make investors jittery, especially as it comes at a time when India's economic growth is slowing. Well, he's basically said what we've said in the piece. Now, I want to go to the Times of India, where they have full quotes from Raghuram Rajan, the former governor of the RBI, previous to Urjit Patel, who has resigned today. This from Times of India, again, no byline. With RBI Governor Urjit Patel putting in his papers, his immediate predecessor Raghuram Rajan said, quote, all Indians should be concerned as strength of institutions is important for growth and development. Patel, who faced the possibility of an unprecedented action from the government over differences on a variety of issues, resigned from his job citing personal reasons. Quote, I think Dr. Patel has made a statement, and I think this is the ultimate statement that a regulator or a civil servant can make. I think the statement should be respected, close quote. Rajan told news channel ET Now. Quote, we should go into the details as to why there was impasse, which forced this ultimate decision, he noted. Quote, I think this is something that all Indians should be concerned about because strength of our institutions is really important for our growth, sustainable growth, and equity in the economy, said Rajan, who completed his 3-year term as RBI governor in September of 2016. With regard to powers of the RBI board, Rajan said there is an extreme change in the nature of the governance of the Reserve Bank of India. For the board to become an operational board, that is to make operational decisions. That, by the way, is why I would get a microphone, because I could have a cough button then. If I had a mic, I could kill the mic. All right, I'll get a mic. During his tenure, Rajan had differences with the government and did not get an extension. Earlier, the board was an advisory and the professionals from the central bank took decisions, Rajan said, apparently referring to recent appointments of RSS ideologue S. Gurumurthy and cooperative banking sector expert S.K. Marathi to the board. An RSS ideologue. The RSS, well, you should look that up if you're not familiar, or I'll give you more about that shortly. Again, Rajan, quote, I think the move towards giving the board more operational authority would impinge on the professional management to regulate and supervise the bank. And if that is to be the case, then the board should be composed of professionals as opposed to the larger public, Rajan opined. Patel's resignation was being speculated right from the time the government cited a never-before-used provision of the RBI Act to get him to consider its views on relaxing lending norms for segments such as small and medium enterprises, as we discussed in the DVC piece. Appropriate size of reserves the central bank must maintain, as we talked about, easing norms for weak banks, right. So that was the act that was applied here by the government. Patel, 55, who took over as the 24th governor of the central bank on September 5th of 2016, had the shortest tenure of any governor of the RBI since 1992. So that's sort of interesting. And Modi's election, I don't know who he's facing, but I wonder if that will play a part. It must. One has to think it must.